And we seem to be live. Okay, great.
Great.
Right. Everyone got their character sheets, everything else?
Yep.
Any other bits and bobs before we get started? Okay, cool. So, we have with us today, we've got Rex, the peerless fighter, aka Alex, and we've got is it Pyrites or Pyrites? I never know.
Pyrites.
Pyrites, yeah. Pyrites, the crystal channeler, wasn't it? The Grimworld class. aka Bastien, with us today. Anyone who watched the previous video, we had two of our three guys, same guys as last time. Actually, why don't you guys give us a quick recap for purposes of anyone watching this after the fact? Alex, let's start with you. Just give us a couple of quick pertinent points about kind of where
the last
session in general, about your guys, about the world we sort of developed a little bit, and
yes. So we decided that myself and one of the other players, who is not Bastien, were on the run from City for having killed a mob boss. And had the Assassin's Guild after us. So we fled the city, we had a bit of a fight on the way out, but managed to get out just in time. And we were at sea on our commercial barge, which apparently has had terrible things happen to it, from what I hear. It may have capsized, we may have washed up, is what I wanted, on shore somewhere on an unknown island, missing one of our party members.
Sounds to me like that's exactly what happened. So what was it specifically? What do you think caused the accident, or was it an accident, or was it an accident?
Yes, it was a storm, at least as far as I can tell. But obviously Rex isn't a sailor, and the ship's lost and the captain's dead. So
lost all hands. That's right, because you had wasn't much of a crew to speak of, but there was a merchant, wasn't there, on the boat?
The boat captain, and then us.
Yep.
So.
And there was Steve's character as well, whose name Bug. That was it, Bug. Bug the thief, also currently AWOL. So yes, so you've washed up on passages new, basically. Might be, I suppose this is going to be kind of weeks travel as opposed to kind of days or years, anything like that.
Sure.
Just in terms of levels as much as anything else, metering it a little bit. So it's been a fairly eventful few weeks for you guys, I think, just on the high seas. This was the first time. Let's see, I think you guys had only known each other for sort of a matter of weeks, and you've been trapped or contained inside the city before that point. So, Pyrites, over to you. What did you find out? What did you come to realise about Rex that you hadn't realised in your time in the city? This peerless fighter.
Probably that is not so. It's not so mad as it looks at first sight, because first time we met, it was in a fight, and I saw how fearless and he was a very good fighter, and then again against the city guards when we were fleeing from the city. I saw how. He didn't flinch at killing innocents and that kind of thing. And but all those weeks on the boat, he showed some interest, and we showed some interest to one another, because he saw that Pyrites had some potential as a fighter, and Pyrites was really curious about everything. Concerning the sea, because it was the first time Pyrites saw the sea. At first, it was very strange, because all this chlorides and iodium in the air, it scratched. It was itching every part of my crystalline body. Rex helped me in this instance, showing me how I could get rid of the itching by just rinsing my body with fresh water, and that helped us came us a bit closer, and I made some efforts to to learn some of his language so that we could speak a bit together, because up to that moment we weren't speaking the same languages. But since I'm very curious about everything, humanoid and everything on the upper side, on the outside of the Earth, because it's just a construct for me as an inner Earth. It's the outer Earth, and I'm exploring it. It's amazing world, and with very different things, and incredible, and so, well, this guy, he knows about it. He knows about life more than he showed me at first sight, and that was really cool.
Cool, excellent. Excellent. So he's helped you out, helped you to kind of not survive, but to help keep you comfortable on the seas.
Yeah, exactly.
In kind of bad conditions, which would otherwise have caused you a lot of distress. I like this idea of your guy. When we did have a picture of you from last session, didn't we? I remember we found a picture. You found a picture for us to see. I forget. You've got your crystal skin tends to be exposed to the elements. You don't sort of keep the fact you've got crystal skin a secret, do you?
Yeah, so the outside of my crystal skin is oxidized so that it doesn't shine too much.
That's right, yeah. But it's obvious that you aren't, say, human. You've got a great big kind of sort of
oh yes, no, there's nothing
oxidized metal skin, basically. Yeah, I like this idea of Rex helping you to kind of wrap up. So like maybe like fresh water to clean out kind of the bads, like the seawater and the salt water and all the corrosive agents, and then just kind of you got wrapped up in a bit of tarp or something. So like you've kind of got like an old sailcloth or something to kind of keep yourself from not getting too exposed to the elements or something. So maybe you've kind of scavenged together some bits of sailcloth or something like that to kind of not really disguise you, because you're still kind of relative to a human being or an elf or a dwarf. You're still kind of a big hulking and kind of irregular figure, kind of lots of hulking pieces kind of.
Oh yes, definitely. I mean, so, well, people mistake me for a bunch of crystals, but not for anything human-like.
Right. So now you kind of look like a shambling bunch of crystals with a kind of a sailcloth over you to sort of mask your appearance a bit, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So before too long, you come across while kind of taking stock of this new land. Do either of you recognise any kind of features of this land? Is there anything that can help you get your bearings as to what kind of civilization you've turned up in, their intentions, whether they're hostile, not so hostile?
I don't know. So far that we know, but we've only just been marooned here. It looks like just a deserted rock beach or pebble beach, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, cool. I would say then that it doesn't take you long. Maybe sort of only really the best part of a day or so. In fact, to tell you what, it takes after the best part of a day, kind of taking stock of the situation. You got beached. You started kind of collecting what resources you could from the ruins of the boat, and started heading north because, hey, follow the beach north, follow the beach south. Actually, no, I'll put it to you guys. Why did you, Rex? You've probably got a little bit more of an idea of the lay of the land and varieties. Why did you pick north? Let's say that you could go north up the beach, you could go south down the beach, or you could go east, kind of inland. What was it that chose you to go north rather than south or east?
Because Rex obviously knows that north is good, because north is how you orient yourself.
Cool.
So north is the way to go.
Cool. So you thought, right. So
in actual fact, he picked one direction and walked in that direction.
Oh, right. And justified it after. So yeah, so
yes.
Like after a day of heading north then, you basically come across, you see, first of all, you see in the distance, small at first, but getting larger and larger the closer you walk towards it, this great big looming monolith. Like it's crystal, it's cut out of quartz or crystal, and you cannot miss it. It's huge. It's the size of a castle easily, just like a shard of crystal jutting out into the sky, just almost jutting out of the surrounding kind of rocks and general hillocks and fields of the area. It's completely incongruous to the rest of the countryside. You've got sandy beaches, rolling plains, little bit of little glades here and there, and then you just got this great big spike of crystal just jutting out of the earth, almost as if someone had stabbed out with a big crystal sword or something like that.
Clearly weird, and probably something that Pyrites can look at. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's rock.
Yes, definitely. I was about to ask how far away from this monolith.
You'd guess less than a day's travel. So
I mean,
once
let's look at it this way: we're marooned on an island or coast or who knows where. There's no sign of civilization. We've lost Bug. I can't find the ship. I can't find anyone or any traces of anything. I've picked a random direction to walk in, and it's literally the only landmark for miles around. Otherwise, it's just flat grasslands. So Rex is definitely going to be going for that spire. It's not anything else to do.
Oh yes, definitely go that way too. Looks very interesting, and well, in my opinion, it represents months of very good food. Like, I mean, if you were feasting every night, pure crystal, that's the best meal I can dream of.
So this is a meal ticket for your guys.
Well, it could be a meal ticket, but yeah, only for me. Yeah. And question: is the monolith any color, or is it pure quartz, transparent quartz?
It's you get the impression that it would be transparent were it not for the fact that it's so kind of raw and uncut. So it's kind of in places it seems as you get closer to it. Actually, I'll describe as you get close to it. So after, say, another half day's worth of walking total, and kind of coming off the beach, you come to the kind of the foot of this monolith, and you see that there is a kind of scattered camp around of mostly humans and humanoids, humans, dwarfs, elves, the usual folk, kind of scattered around. The monolith itself is probably like a light, fairly opaque crystal, like quartz, I guess. There are aspects of it which are transparent, like almost glass-like in transparency, but then there are other aspects where it getting shunted out of the earth has caused it to kind of scratch and get fogged up and misted up. So you get the impression that in its kind of natural, if it had been kind of refined in any way, shape or form, then yes, it would be almost as transparent as glass. But as it is, this is kind of a great big chunk of the uncut stuff, which is not quite as pure as it could be. Around the
look like rocks to me.
foot. Sorry, yeah. So let's go on.
It just looks like rocks to Rex.
Well, it wouldn't be just any old mountainside, in as much as it.
Oh no, obviously, but it's a giant thing made of rocks, much like the rocks on the floor and the rocks that Pyrites appears to be made of.
The rocks that Pyrites appears to be made of, yes. The rocks of the rest of the mountainside, no. It's not like slate or pebbles or a sandy beach, a rocky beach.
No, I get what you mean. I'm just saying to Rex, it is all rocks.
Oh, I see. Rocks is rocks. Fair enough.
Yes.
Okay. So, yep, go for it.
As soon as I can touch it, I will send a few force wave into the crystal to make it sing.
Okay. Well, before you can get towards it, you've got to go through the camp itself first. So this scattered camp is kind of directly kind of milling around all around it. And by all means, well, I'll leave it up to you as to what means.
We're just going to, or at least Rex is just going to walk towards the monolith, spire, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
I mean, there's not much else to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's fine. You wander into the camp. Like I say, mostly humanoids, humans, orcs, elves.
If anyone sort of seems to be unoccupied, Rex will sort of probably ask them, where are we? What's the name of this place?
Okay.
Where's the closest town?
Okay. Are you walking in together?
I would imagine so, yeah.
That's no reason why not. So, basically, they probably see you first, Rex, because it sounds like you're one sort of more resolutely striding forward to ask them questions, right? They turn to the closest guy turns to look at you. It's a fairly aged halfling with a crooked nose and a single huge kind of spyglass style thing. He's been kind of rooting around in the dust. Looks like he's been kind of unearthing kind of fragments of crystals from around the foot of the monolith. And as soon as he kind of turns around to your kind of hail, hello, whatever, he kind of stops and looks round and sees Pyrites and basically starts stammering in whatever equivalent of oh my gods, what in the seven hells, etc., etc., at Pyrites, and it is clear. And as he starts shouting, you become aware that kind of as you guys have wandered into the camp, the other various folk have been kind of basically having a very similar reaction here, turning and staring and kind of going, or kind of calling other people over and basically calling around. And before long, a crowd's kind of gathered around the two of you, but mostly around Pyrites. What do you do? Let's start with you, Pyrites.
Well, at first I'm so subjugated, so hypnotized by the monolith. I just don't really care. But when the crowds get, bigger and bigger around me and denser, and it gets harder and harder to go through the monolith, then I just have to turn and look at them. What do they look like? Are they looking like ragged people, peasants, or town people? I don't. What can I compare them to? What I've already met?
Okay, compared to people you've already met, they mostly look like. Well, there's a mix. Some of them look like academics, like the halfling with the crooked nose and the eyeglass. They look like archaeologists. Treasure hunters perhaps. A lot of dusty hands, a lot of fine implements, a lot of brushes to unearth crystal, and a lot of studious folk. That would account for roughly half of the people in the camp that you can see. The other half of the crowd stroke camp seem to be of much more of a religious bent, and they're the ones who are really actively gasping and calling each other over, and you can hear kind of a murmur emerging among the crowds of it's a shaper, my God. And you can hear this kind of filtering around the crowd, basically. And they're the ones which are kind of really directly approaching you and looking at you in a mixture of fear and awe.
Is the halfling who was digging around that I approached, is he still freaking out? Have I asked my questions? I presume I have.
You asked them, and what questions did you ask him specifically? Is there a
it's literally, where the hell are we?
He's still there, because I reckon that as the crowd kind of almost formed around him, right? You've kind of homed in on him to ask questions, which means you stopped, and as you stopped, kind of the crowd almost formed around you. So he'd still be kind of the front row.
Sure.
He's still there.
Is he freaking out, or is he answering the question?
He's sort of stammering. He's like,
I'm going to pick him up.
Yep. Okay. You
grab him by the scruff of his neck.
He squeaks.
The front of his throat, rather, picking up. Bring him closer to my face and ask the question again, but more slowly, because he's obviously having trouble understanding me. So maybe if I speak louder and more slowly, it'll be, it's like British tourists.
yeah, sure. You say to him pidgin English.
Where are we?
So you see, you hear through the crowd. Actually, you hear a much deeper, more authoritative voice say something like, "There's no need for that, my child. You're on the eastern continent for now."
I'll just, since obviously someone actually knows the answer to my questions, I'm just going to drop this guy and turn to the source of the voice.
So as you drop the halfling kind of backs off, scurries away, and scurries into the crowd and disappears. But parting through the crowds is a well-dressed, not very dusty at all, priest of some kind. He's got he seems sort of well tanned, he's been outside a lot. He's got kind of that weathered, leathery skin that implies someone who spent a lifetime on the road as opposed to in a dusty library somewhere. But nonetheless, his clothes imply the opposite. His clothes imply that he's been kind of living the academic life rather than life on the road, which to you kind of suggests, well, this is a guy who likes to take care of himself. And he's the one who kind of approaches you and says, "There's no need for that, my child. You're on the eastern continent. How can this humble theologist be of assistance to you and your amazing friend?"
I don't suppose you've seen that sort of halfling about year high, black leathers, looks like he might want to stab you.
Looks like he might want to stab you. He looks around. He says, sort of looks around, and he hears a murmur, and you see him kind of motion to one of the nearest guys, who's another similar sort of robes, but not quite as ornate. Shuffles up, doesn't want to make eye contact with either of you. And you hear him kind of say, make the arrangements, see if there's any word about, and says, "We haven't as yet, but my men are on it."
Thanks, you're helpful. Much more helpful than him. And Rex sort of gestures in the direction of the other halfling.
At that, they sort of this theologist. He sort of looks around and he's like, "People, let's give these two strangers some space. Let's let these travelers rest. Clearly, they've had a long, weary journey." And
you can say that again. We were shipwrecked.
Okay, as soon as the crowd began to clear around priorities, I begin again, stomping my way to the monolith, because I really do want to make the fucker sing. I mean, it's like in my culture, it's like, revealing the soul of a stone, and so I really need to hear it sing to know, what it's really like.
So there's an idea. So your expectation is that when you touch the stone, is there anything more to it than that? Is there a ritual?
Well, it's like when you touch the stone and you send waves through the stone, then it will sing.
It'll sing. Will it sing to just you, or will it sing to everyone?
Well, I don't know if those humans just can hear it. All I can tell you is that it's more like an infrasound than anything else. So probably humans won't hear it, but animals should. Well, maybe those elves or other, maybe they can hear it. I just don't know. But for priorities, it's like something like it's like music.
Sure. And it's something you're really desperate to do. Okay, that's fine. So as the crowd starts to the crowd's dispersing, but it's slow going, especially from the religious folk. You're having to sort of push your way forward through these crowds a little bit. And in fact, Parietes, they're not really giving you enough room, not through any kind of malicious intent. They just don't want to let you out of their sight. They're in awe of you, right? Now that their leader, this theologist bloke, has come forward, they're very keen to be like, oh, and basically they're in reverence of you, and they're really anxious to see what you're going to do. But at the same time, they're almost stopping you from doing it in their anxiety. So what I'd like you to do is make a con roll for me to see how well you can push through the crowds.
So while Parietes is pushing through the crowds, I'm probably still going to be speaking to the theologist.
Sure.
Just to explain that. Well, we were shipwrecked, and
that's a double 6 plus 2. It's 14.
Fantastic.
Okay, I think he doesn't have any trouble with that.
So let's just cover both of those. I'll come back to the theologist questions in a second. As far as your making your way, so you managed to make your way through the crowds as gently as possible. You managed to kind of push them out the way, and they kind of reciprocate. So you're able to.
I think that if people just don't understand, I will just walk on my four limbs, instead of walking on two legs, and when I get down to the ground, it makes a big boom and a little tremor in the ground, because I'm 2 tons heavy. So I think that people will get impressed, but I will go very gently, and I think that there will be an awe, and just kind of making a step back naturally and letting me go to the monolith.
Sounds good to me. Sounds perfect. So that's exactly what happens. You go down on all fours and cause a very minor kind of boom, a shockwave, just enough to get their attention and to show them you mean business, and to clear a path that you do. You make your way over and touch the crystal. But while you're doing that, the theologist can't help but keep an eye on you. He's trying to answer your questions to the best of his understanding, Rex, but his attention is diverted very much on what Parietes is doing.
Okay, I'm basically not paying attention to what Parietes is doing at all.
Sure. So you're sort of saying, well, what about this? What about this? And he's like, bear with me one moment, my child. I'd be happy to answer your questions. But what is your friend doing?
Oh, the rock man likes the rock thing. I don't know. It's a rock person thing. I don't ask questions.
And he's like, I see. Well, let's just see what he's doing first, and then I'll be happy to.
I'm sure he'll be back. Just let him be.
Like in the meantime, and he's very quickly just sort of snapping his fingers. Now, now he's showing a bit of authority, just kind of getting someone around, and he pulls over one of the archaeologist types, one of the less reverent types. One of the ones who looks like he's quite kind of laboured down, and says, you there, see to this man's personal effects and see that you answer all of his questions. And more or less sort of leaves you to it, and actually he almost he's like, okay, well, I'll leave you to it then, and he wants to try and basically meet Parites before he can touch this monolith. He wants to be there when he does it. So he's like kind of up skirts, and he's kind of made his way through the dust with a little bit less decorum than you might expect. It's like, okay, I'll see you later, sort of thing. And the mask has slipped for a second, and you're basically left with this rather dour, simple dwarf who's like, sir.
I'll just keep asking him my questions, which is basically like, where are we exactly? Do you have a map? Where's the closest town? Where can I buy food?
He's like, you're in the Eastern Continent. Here's some food. Here's a map, and he basically just hands you those details. He's like, sure, here you go, here you go, here you go. And you've basically, he's like a traveller type.
Excellent.
There's no surprises there, and they're not trying to hide anything from you.
So now that I've actually got what I want, now I'll start paying attention to the monolith. I presume that by now, sort of Parites is about halfway there with.
Parites is there. So Parites, what happens when you touch this monolith?
I beg your pardon, Joe?
What happens when you touch this monolith? What sort of physical effects do other people see?
The physical effects. Okay, if it's really a quartz monolith, since the quartz is it's an electrokinetic crystal. When I try to make it sing, it should also create electricity and electric arcs all around it, and maybe a few people will get shocked.
Maybe. Okay.
Yeah, cool. Maybe.
So I think that's exactly what's going to happen. So what I'd like you to do is, I mean, it's not going to affect you because this is, normal business as far as you're concerned.
Yes, and I'm purely conductive, so any electrical arc will go from me to the ground, and I won't even, it won't even tickle me. Yeah, I mean,
sure. Yeah. So when you touch the monolith, basically a couple of the nearest ones. But one of the nearest ones, his cloak starts to get singed. There's like an arcing corona of lightning forming around you, and in a sort of semicircle around the monolith, basically around the edge of the monolith where you're touching. And you basically make contact. And let's see what happens when you do. I want you to roll. I tell you what, let's call it as kind of a spout law style thing, in terms of you understanding this monolith's kind of reasons and intentions, but given that it's more of a spiritual connection rather than an intellectual, an educational based one, I want you to roll plus wisdom instead of plus intellect for me.
Okay, plus wisdom. So I've got a +1 on plus wisdom, and that will be. Let's get it. It's. Ooh, not good. Then that's
experience.
It's 4. Yeah, I mark experience. So I mark 1 point of experience. Okay. So I guess it doesn't sing very well or very loudly, so probably I will push it a little bit more, like, and the shock will get, stronger and stronger, and maybe all those guys around me, they will think I'm trying to, activate the power of the monolith to destroy everybody, because I'm a crystal thing too.
Oh, I'm sure a fair few of them get fried in the feedback, but that's their problem. What I'm really interested in is the message that you get. So you were trying to get kind of an understanding of this monolith, right? You wanted to make it sing, and what happens when a monolith sings? What messages does it impart? Does it tell you sort of what the origins of this structure were, what family of crystal channelers it came from, or anything like that? What normally would you expect to hear?
Normally it should sing the story of the Earth, so it should sing about, the geological elements around it, and the geological history that came it to become a part of this of this countryside, and of the landscape here. And so basically, if it's an unnatural monolith, I should eventually feel it also.
You hear the song translated into your mind, so to speak, and only you hear this, that the monolith is the throne room of. It's a throne room of Crystal Titan, and why is that a very bad thing? Capital V, capital B. For your particular clan, family, family of crystal folk. Why is the Crystal Titan such a bad thing for your people?
Because, as I told you, in the Cave Kingdom I coming from, we are all a bit like channelers. So we are kind of, intellectual and wizard-like crystallites. Titan crystal are the warlike monsters in this kind of, in this part of the world. And very long ago, the channelers, they discovered how to make them sleep so that their kingdom would be more peaceful. The kingdom caves would be more peaceful. And if we wake them up, then they will surely wage war on us, and that's really no good news.
Right. So that's what you find. You find that the song behind this particular monolith is it is the throne room, i.e. the no. Let's change it to something more relevant. Then let's call it like the War Council or something like that of one of these crystal titans, right? It's the council room of one of these crystal titans. It's an old wing.
Well, it could still be a throne room. It could be the crystal titans want to conquer the world rather, because they're warlike and they want to subjugate all the surface people. And so this is the throne room of a long forgotten crystal titan who used to run the eastern continent, maybe.
Sure. Well, either way, I suppose it's either it's a military based throne room, I suppose, isn't it? It's what it is. It's a warlord, military general, something along those lines. Sure, we'll use throne room's more interesting sounding anyway, I suppose. So yeah, this throne room is actually a sort of a containment unit of sorts for a warlord who was banished by your people, who was captured. One of, not the only one necessarily, but one who was banished by your people, and if awoken, will potentially rise again to try and control the East, try and finish the job he started, I suppose. What, centuries, decades, centuries, epochs?
Probably more centuries, or even millennia.
Millennia ago. So millennia ago, this crystal warlord, this crystal titan, tried to control the eastern continent and failed. And he was locked away, and supposed to be locked away deep down in the deep dark below. And nonetheless, here he is. And of course, as you kind of release your touch and wake up from your reverie and find a couple of burnt husks. Let's be honest here. A couple of burnt husks of the theologists who got a little bit too close.
Whoops.
Whoops, indeed. You realise, well, these folks are trying to uncover something that they really shouldn't, and that's what you know right now.
Okay, so I stand up from all the hate I can take and try even to stretch my legs a bit, and then rearranging all my crystals so that I would be the tallest I can be, and then from the deepest voice I can, I say, "You all stop any digging now."
Don't you only speak Dwarven?
A little bit.
All the dwarves put their tools down.
Yeah.
Or everyone else looks around slightly. Actually, to be fair, I think given A, their reverence of these crystal people, and B, the fact that you're a big scary dude, they're all going to at least stop momentarily. They might continue very shortly afterwards if you can't keep going. But certainly for the moment, you have their attention. Right? The whole camp just goes quiet. All eyes are on. Any eyes that weren't on you before, after all of this, certainly are.
Yes,
now.
Of course. And I make them understand that if they don't stop all digging in this area, I will just burn the area to the ground with the crystal magic. Because, well, I probably kind of realized the electrokinetic properties of the crystal, and so I know I can just burn the ground with lightning shocks. And
how do you tell this or show this to them without being able to sort of speak particularly well their language?
I will just I will use my my trickle power to show that if you unearth and then I touch the monolith and I send just a quick wave in it, and so that just an arc fires through the earth I have in my hand, and so that people will understand that whenever they dig, they get shocked by lightning.
Right. Okay. And that trickle move, just to clarify, was there a role based?
No, sir. You can emit a small amount of a primary element for mundane task or to impress someone without having to channel.
Cool. Okay, and that's what you're doing here. You're impressing someone, impressing many someones, in fact.
Yeah.
So I see. So you can't. It isn't that easy for you to directly tell them, you know what, don't do this, or I'm going to electrocute the lot of you. But you can give them a bit of an example by using your trickle ability to basically kind of, again, create this kind of corona around you, this arcing corona of basically light and sound and electricity to basically stop them all in their tracks. And yeah, I'd say that they pretty much do. You have their undivided attention, especially this lead theologist, this fancy gentleman who's pretty much right next to you at this stage. He's kept a respectful few paces back to avoid getting electrified, but he's very much at the front of the row here, and you very much have his undivided attention.
Okay.
And he's.
Since Pirates didn't pay much attention to the people around him up to now, does it show that this guy is the kind of boss around here, or not?
Yeah, this guy, you would get a strong impression this guy's the boss around here. Yeah.
Okay, so I look him in the eye with my one red big eye, and I look him in the eye and I say, and I will account you responsible for it. And then I give him a little push, but with a 50 kilos hand, so probably we'll make a few steps back. And I think, well, don't you think it's time for a parley move or something?
It sounds more like a strength move. I mean, if you're trying to talk him down.
It's not really a parlay because we're not trying to trade.
Here's the thing, Parites. Again, you don't speak the same language, so parlay.
Okay.
So hang on. I'm presuming that the theologist / intelligent person who's well travelled and is at the head of this expedition probably speaks some Dwarven.
Yes.
If he's not.
What I'm really interested in is the fact that Parites just poked him.
Oh, right, okay, yes.
He's sprawling, okay? If that's the move you're making, then that's the roll we're going to make. And that's not going to be parlay. That's going to be a strength roll. That's basically going to be defying danger using strength.
Okay, so it's...
which is basically how much you do or don't pull your punches.
Okay, that's not good.
Try not to fail.
Yeah, that's a fail. I mark experience.
All right, mark experience.
Yeah, I'm not the strong kind of type. I mean, I'm far more resistant and bulky.
Yeah, but you are also, as previously noted, a 2-ton.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Giant among men, made out of pure raw metal, and what was supposed to be just a more of a bluff and a light tap sends this guy sprawling about 15 feet.
Okay, so I can't measure my strength.
You still have a little trickle of that channeling power in your hands.
Yeah.
Being so close to the
monolith, I had to let it go. You know how it is, right?
So you kind of like, and as for you, and he just goes sprawling, launches across the floor, and goes scattering into the dust. And he does get back up again. In fact, Rex, he lands very close to where you are, where you're just there checking the map. Maybe not even taking much interest in all of this. I don't know.
Not really.
But nonetheless, you're like, oh, okay, checking the map. Okay. Oh, right, so we came from here. And yes, okay, I guess we crashed here. And, oh, look, there's a giant theologist who's just sprawled by my feet.
I'll obviously pick him up, sort of, one-handed, to grab him by his collar and pull him to his feet and sort of dust him off a little bit, because obviously he's dirty. You're all right there?
Fair enough. You take D4 damage while he's still electrified and all. You take a nasty little static shock from picking him up, or you can choose not to pick him up and leave him where he is.
No, I'm picking him up. Does my armor apply to that?
No.
Okay.
It's just electrostaticy stuff. So as you're hauling him up, you get a nasty kind of jolt, like a spasm through your hands and wrists.
It's all right.
But you manage to kind of force your hands enough to let go of him. You put him on his feet, and he's just about standing. You get the feeling that he's kind of his joints and nerves are locked into place is keeping him keeping on his feet rather than any actual decision to stay upright. His formerly kind of fairly well coiffured white mane of hair is now frizzling right out. His clothes are all torn from sprawling across the gravel.
I said, "Are you all right?"
And his folks, his fellow theologists, basically swarm in and try and help him out, and they cart him off, and they're almost not looking at you, Rex. They're just sort of they're still paying a lot of attention to the 2-ton crystal elemental who's just thrown their leader
obviously these Eastern Continent people have got appalling manners.
Yeah. The dwarf, still nearby to you, snatches the map back from you and says, "What the hell is your friend doing?"
I don't know, he's not my friend, he's a rock thing. But I don't think he's happy.
Parites, what are you doing in all of this?
I'm looking around trying to determine how close they are to unleash the warlord.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Because that's really the thing I want to avoid by all means.
Mm.
And if I have to get really, bad about it, I will really do. But first, I have to, to determine whether there's an imminent danger of waking the warlord, or whether they can, go digging for years before it happens.
Mm. Absolutely.
So I will walk around the camps, slowly looking at things on the right and on the left, and trying to pick, elements that could, make my mind about, okay, how close are they from fucking all the thing up?
Here's the thing. I don't think it's going to be quite that simple. You have thrown one of their own halfway across the camp.
Oh yeah, well, I mean,
here's what happens. You go to start taking stock of how much they've dug deep, and even a cursory glance shows that they've sort of they've mined some kind of entrance into the foot of this thing. So they've clearly already made a start. How far that start continues, you don't know yet, but you can see the entrance. Okay, it's relatively close to you, relatively close to both of you. But your main priority at this stage is these. The 3 more of the more burlier archaeologist types in the kind of dusty leathers, who basically kind of form ranks around you and say, wait, where are you going? Oh, where's my notes? There we go. Yes.
I am...
three of the closest kind of archaeologists come closer to you.
Do I understand what they're telling me? What language are they speaking?
Well, can you understand anything other than Dwarvish then? I think it's established you can understand
a little bit of whatever, yeah.
You were in the city for quite some time, weren't you? It's not so much. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So I think I know Dwarvish quite well, and I speak a little bit of Prime because I spent a few weeks, and I think a few months, in fact, with these peasants.
You did, yes.
And I helped them, doing field works, and so I think that I've learned, well, the basics, like, but not quite much.
Right. Okay. Well, you've probably understood the basics of, stop, halt, abomination, stop there.
So
Please stop.
I will just say,
and also you get, even if you don't understand the message, you certainly understand their body language of heavy mining picks have been kind of picked up. Sledgehammers and mining picks have been picked up by 3 of the sturdier archaeologists.
Yeah. Okay.
Fancy spyglasses put aside.
Are there a lot of sun today? Is the sun shining today? Yeah, is the sun shining today?
Is the sun shining today?
Yeah, the sun.
Yes, it is. But
it is.
But you are currently in its shadow. Okay, so the monolith is actually blocking it somewhat. The less transparent elements are still casting enough of a shadow that, as it happens, you're currently in the shade. Outside of the shade would be probably about let's for argument's sake, say 50 paces behind you, which would mean clearing away through kind of the rest of the rabble as they're kind of scurrying around now, trying to make sense of what's going on here, really.
Okay,
a lot of people now are just to set the scene, just the final part to set the scene before you both tell me your moves and we kind of move on, if you like. Everyone's basically trying to everyone's basically panicking. You've got the more religious guys are trying to pack up all of their like fancy artifacts and stuff like that, kind of the crystal bits they've already uncovered, and keep them safe and wrapped up. Many are trying to outright flee the camp. Others are sort of packing up tools and heading in your direction. Rex, you haven't been outright attacked yet, but given that you walked in with this giant elemental creature that's now been
well, since the dwarf has snatched the map back out of my hand, I'm sort of looking in the general direction of the monolith. I said, well, I better go check this out, and I'll just hand him my half-eaten apple, which he also had previously given me, and just walk off towards Pyrezes.
Okay, fair enough. He grabs you on the shoulder. As you turn away, he spins you round on the shoulder and punches you straight in the jaw.
Okay.
No one turns their back on a dwarf.
Okay.
He says, shouting. Pyrezes, what are you doing?
So it's a brave dwarf, so hang on. How much damage do I take?
Let's see. From that guy, you're going to be taking just d6 damage. Armor as usual.
So 2 points damage. I'm gonna draw and cut him down.
All right, fair enough. Go for it. That sounds like a hack and slash to me.
Okay. From my side, I will just try to repulse the 3 guys in front of me. With one of my techniques, and so I've got to channel.
Okay. What does that do? What exactly is that you're doing with the channeling?
I'm using the invisible wall from last time, if you remember, and I will just create it just in front of me, and then make it bigger, and pulling people astray from me, away from me, and so that it clears my way in front of me, like if I were
Okay, so you're using your kind of powers to create these walls of force to try and kind of split them apart. Moses parting the Red Sea. You're trying to part this group.
Yeah, that's
more or less non-violently to clear apart to the entrance. Is that where you're going with this?
Yes, I want to. Yeah, right. I want to have a look at that entrance. Yeah.
Okay. Go for it. Roll
so that's 11 plus 2 is 13.
Okay.
So.
Okay, that's fine. So you got 13 for yourself. Rex, you've got 9 plus.
That's an 11 total.
That's an 11 total. Lovely. Okay, so your 11 total. Roll your damage.
Yeah, just as soon as I remember how much damage that is. D10 plus D4 plus 3. So that's 9 points damage.
Lovely. You eviscerate the guy. The guy's eviscerated. He's in 2 pieces.
Excellent.
The map is also shredded into 2 pieces.
That's less excellent. I'll sort of wipe my sword off on him and then turn around towards the monolith with the bloody sword in one hand.
Okay, fair enough.
Well,
so you're basically charging your way through these kind of panicking crowds.
Well, so I'm calmly walking towards the monolith.
Okay, you're calmly walking through a mob of.
I'll just punch my way through essentially, without really killing anyone unless they attack me.
Okay,
I am sort of 7 feet tall and whatever.
Sure. Okay, well, fair enough. A lot of these people are kind of, fully grown humans, elves, and whatnot. They can stand toe to toe with you. Although none of them are as burly and none of them are armed in exactly the same way as you are. Nonetheless, you've kind of shown yourself to be a threat, so people do try and stand in your way. You can try and pull your punches and just sort of defy danger using con to kind of beat your way through without causing too much harm, or we can just call it hack and slash against a group of people to kind of.
I'll defy danger plus con, so that's 13. No, sorry, 12.
12. Okay, no worries. So you kind of beat your way to Pyrezes' side. Is that where you're going?
Yep.
Right. So you've kind of forced your way around these people to Pyrezes' side. You're now the 2 of you are standing shoulder to shoulder, well, relatively speaking, given.
Well, I'm sort of turning to Pyrezes and go, "What the hell are you doing?"
Okay.
There is a great danger inside that entrance, and I will make sure that these people won't get inside.
Okay, I don't know how things are done where the rock people come from, but outside on the surface, you tell people that before you attack them?
I didn't attack anyone.
You killed 2 people with the lightning from the giant stone thing.
No, the monolith.
And then you
attacked
punched
people.
And then you punched a man.
Did I?
Yes. You
You
sent
hear
him
3
flying, and
other
I picked him
people.
up.
You hear,
Well,
you hear 3 of the
it was-
architects going, archaeologists.
Yeah, I was probably a bit charged from talking to the monolith, and then I uncharged on him, and that's an accident, and I'm not responsible.
We've talked about this, okay? You can't do that. That's not polite.
I didn't. I mean, I didn't want it to. I mean, it just happened. I mean,
that's not relevant. No, we are just arguing in the middle of whatever.
I know, which is why I'm going to ask you to make hack and slash rolls and continue the conversation. This is the part in the game where you're still talking and just fighting in between.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's.
I'm just making my way to the entrance, and my idea is to
use
my.
Are you fighting your way to the entrance? Bastien, are you fighting your way to the entrance?
Well,
or
if people just don't move away,
they are moving away.
Of my barrier,
there is no way they're moving out of your way. You're going to have to fight them or not at this stage.
Oh no, I'm not going to fight them. I mean, I'm gonna channel more of my energy, and then I will make an earthquake all around me, so that people will just fall on the ground, and I will have my free way to the entrance. And
okay,
people will just get shocked and fall on the ground. And
go for it. Plus call.
Okay, let's go. That's 8.
8. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got a 9, 10, 11 from Alex. So Alex, you managed to. I know if you make roll damage. Two of you are arguing, and also Alex, you're
I'm punching. Unless there's someone who actually looks like an armed person coming at me with an actual weapon, I'm just cold cocking people as they sort of charge me or whatever. I imagine it's mostly sort of weedy archaeologists like running at me, screaming at the top of their lungs because they're terrified. So I just sort of punch off to the side without really looking.
Sure, that's exactly what's happening. So you're just backhanding people and
yes,
away and saying, "No, you're supposed to be going." Cool. So that's what's happening there. Meanwhile, while you're also talking, Pyrites is starting an earthquake around you. So Pyrites, that is a 7.
I've got to choose one complication though, because it's only 8. And it's
actually, I get to choose a complication on here.
You get
on
to
7
choose.
To 9, but the power is too much. You can use your bodies of damn and take damage, or allow the power through. If you allow the power through, I will tell you 1 or more complications. So what would you like?
Okay, I can take 1d4 damage.
All right. Cool.
You roll, I roll. Up.
You roll. Go for it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, you roll, Bastien.
Up. Come on. How much is it? 4. Okay, I take them. Yeah.
Okay. So it's your palms which are your emanation point, weren't they? Your palms were where your power was actually diverted through, channeled through. So you feel your palms almost cracking apart with the force and having to kind of reconstitute themselves back together. But nonetheless, you managed to create this earthquake kind of around you. And what's that you're doing? You're
It's a technique with hazard and forceful. So it's just like if I had a weapon with a forceful tag. So I just send people away with my earthquake, and on the perimeters I choose. Not too large, but I just want to clear the area up to the entrance.
Right.
And if some people are over there, there's an earthquake, and they just get thrown aside.
That's exactly what happens. So you basically rear up as you're talking. You're rearing up. You're losing your temper a little bit by the sounds of things, and you just
come on! I'm not the one slicing people in two. I'm trying to be non-violent.
Yep. I hear that. So what happens is you slam your hands down on the floor. You basically create a shockwave of just raw force that ripples through the earth. It sends people flying left and right, but some of them kind of go slamming into the wall of the monolith itself. Others just go flying through the air in the other direction. But nonetheless, you create this kind of rumbled up, ripped up earth, almost a corridor of opened up earth that leads straight to the entrance. So basically, you've made this kind of trench in the ground with people kind of flown to the left and right, flung to the left and right, either side of that. And as you kind of pick yourself back up, you feel your hands kind of, this is the 4 damage, you feel your hands kind of cracked and kind of almost like sore and almost rent apart, and you have to kind of almost kind of crack your hands back into place in order to get them back.
Yeah.
But yes, you've cleared a path to the entrance. What do you do?
Well, I mean, I will run to the entrance as quick as I can, which is not that quick, but I mean, it's always impressive to see a 2-ton crystalline running, and so that's what I'm going to the entrance. And when I get to the entrance, I will use my power to pile up as much earth as I can in front of the entrance. And if I can, well, I will have a look at the entrance itself before I pile up things in front of it. But
you won't have much time. If you want to stop and take a look at the entrance, you're going to have to, someone, whether Rex or yourself, is going to have to defend you while you do. Else you're going to get attacked while you're trying to look.
I'm gonna, when he runs off, I'm gonna sort of jog off after him and then start berating him for running off in the middle of a conversation.
I was going to say, yeah.
Like, what do we said about interrupting people? You can't just run around doing whatever you want. Okay, when you engage in a conversation with someone, you're supposed to stay there and listen to them until they're finished talking, and then you talk. I don't really care.
But we are not talking to those people.
No, you're talking to me.
Oh, to you! Oh, sorry. Sorry. Yeah, yes, Rex. Yes.
You know,
yes.
I'm punching him in a way that's not meant to be mean, but pay attention, you idiot, kind of punch.
A few of the surviving archaeologists now seem to have got rather alarming yellow and black satchels out. The sort of satchels that tend to have fuses running out of them. And they've got their goggles back on now, and their heavy masks and other kind of large items. And they definitely are kind of heading in your direction. You can see one of the elves, actually, one of the burlier-looking elves, has hefted 2 of these packs in one hand, and he's sort of swinging them over his head. You can see a kind of a sparkling, twinkling thing coming out of the edge of one of these satchels, and he's basically about to lob these 2 satchels from basically from far, from arrow's distance, say 10, 15 feet away from you at the moment. He's basically lobbing them in a wide arc over the heads of his compatriots at the cave entrance.
Any chance we can get at him before he gets a chance to throw them?
Unlikely. If you've got some kind of missile weapon, you might be able to throw off a shot or throw something at him.
I do not.
Aim. It's unlikely.
I do
that's
not.
What's happening right now.
It's close distance, that's it? Joe, is it close distance?
No,
far distance.
It would be, let's say he's near distance. That's about 10 to 15 feet. He's near.
Okay.
He'd be out of arm's length, certainly. So what do you do?
I think I will do something similar to what I've done when we were on the boat. When he throws this thing, his satchels with the flumes and everything, I will create a barrier so that the satchels will, ricochet on them and turn back to them.
Okay. Fair enough.
So.
Plus gone.
But I'm getting tired of all those guys. And okay, so that's a 9. So
that's a 9.
That works.
So
but
you can choose 1d4 damage, or I can choose something fun to happen.
Yeah, choose something fun to happen. I'm fed of those guys.
Awesome. Okay, I think I've got it. So you're kind of talking. Well, I say talking. It's not really talking. It's so much as arguing at the entrance to the cave. Sorry, monolith rather. And just as you're sort of finishing your arguing, you see this elf hefting this satchel, and yeah, Parites, you again, your hands kind of glowing with force, almost your crystalline hands almost fracturing here with the kind of raw power you're throwing in them, and you kind of throw up a force field like this wall of force just in time, but you're doing it kind of almost backhanded, and the angle isn't quite right. The satchel bounces off of it, but instead of bouncing back outwards towards the crowd, it bounces kind of upwards, kind of above you, and just sort of clipping the entrance. And that's where this kind of demolition pack of just TNT and whatnot explodes. Forcing the 2 of you backwards. So the shockwave basically takes the 2 of you backwards further into the monolith, and you most of the entrance kind of gets brought down in the explosion. There's kind of a torrential. It's not something that you couldn't remove given enough time, but yeah, it basically brings down the most of the kind of shatters of fragments of crystal and chunks of rock brought up and everything else.
So basically we're stuck inside with the archaeologists and everything on the outside.
Pretty much.
Oh great, now we're stuck inside. Thanks very much, Parites.
And it's pretty dark.
Well, I did my best. You did nothing to prevent those booming things to come at us. That's dwarven things. I remember dwarves using it during the Millennium Wars.
If you hadn't killed some people and then punched a man, they wouldn't have been throwing them at us. So it's your fault.
I didn't fucking kill anybody. You are the one who cut someone
killed
in two.
People.
No,
I defended myself. You killed 2 people.
No, the monolith killed 2 people. I was just talking to it, and then he got angry. Like that's not
okay. Well then there's a new rule. Okay, no more talking to rocks.
No
more talking to rocks. You're not allowed to talk to rocks anymore. Got it? No rocks.
I'm not allowed to what?
Well, if you're going to go around talking to rocks that kill people, you can't talk to rocks that kill people.
Okay, so if I'm not allowed to talk to rocks anymore, you are not allowed to talk to freaking humans or elves or dwarves or anything anymore.
When I talk to humans, they don't then kill other people.
Come on! Last time you talked to a human, you had to fight him back.
No, I can kill them, but they don't kill people.
But the one I killed, they won't kill anyone. I mean, that's just the same thing.
So,
this is okay. Let's just get out of here, and then we're going to have another much longer conversation about this.
And let's make sure those crazy people out there with their booming sections that just don't go inside. It's too dangerous what's here. We have to be very careful.
I don't think we've got a problem with that, and I'll sort of point at the collapsed wall that's blocking the entrance to the cavern. I will pull out. No, I won't. I was going to say pull out a torch from my adventuring gear, but I don't have adventuring gear.
Excellent.
Do you have a torch?
No.
Good.
What's that used? Well,
that's just great.
No.
I'm stuck in a dark cavern with a rock that talks to rocks that kill people and then pretends that he had nothing to do with the killing people. This is wonderful.
At least you're not inside with a psychopath.
Well. Okay, cool.
Can you open the door?
Yes, I could.
Open the door then. We're going to go outside. We're going to go outside, and you're going to apologize to them, and then they'll stop throwing satchels at us.
Here's where you guys are at right now. You're in a very dark corridor, man-made, but pretty well cut out of this monolith that winds upwards. You're at the bottom of this chunk of quartz, and the corridor starts heading upwards. The other side, the far end, it's settled. You can't really see it, but you get a sense of the powdered dust and gravel and everything else which is filling up the back there. Yeah, you could totally uncover that. It would take time, and you're not sure what will be going on the other side when you get out there, but yeah, you could uncover that given enough time. Parites, you're very aware that the Crystal Titan is here and is a very real threat, and that you don't know how far this corridor leads. It might lead all the way up to the throne room itself, for all you know. Rex, you know that you're in a corridor with a very, very strange crystal man.
He's not that strange, he's just very stupid.
And that's where we're going to leave it before we take a short break. What I'm going to do, this is for the benefit of anyone watching this as well as you guys, I'm going to try stopping the broadcast and see if I can start it again. Apologies if this means that the YouTube video stops. You'll just have to do a quick YouTube search. I'm sure part 2 will be on shortly afterwards. But hopefully I think I can just pause this and then resume the broadcast. So I'll be intending to do that. But yes, hopefully see you guys in about 5 minutes. All right?
Okay, see you in 5 minutes.
Don't worry about, and also you guys don't worry about leaving the conversation again. So I should just be able to stop this, and we can just restart
the broadcast.
All right. Cheers.
Okay.
See you guys.
Yes.
Bye.